You are really hired, Mr. Stark.
Hello and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles podcast. I am not your host, Tim DOWG98, who is probably recovering from the the New York Comic-Con experience that he's having. He's also with Agent _70, who's also partaking of it, and I'm sure Matt Wang, our friend of the show, is also there. Nevertheless, and PCN _Dirt, who is off doing whatever he's doing right now. So apparently people thought there wasn't going to be shouldn't be a show this week. But, you know, I figured I would do one. I kind of said so the last couple of weeks, you know, but kind of got lost in the shuffle. But here I am, and it's kind of late on it's not even a Friday night, it's a Sunday night. So this is probably going to be a relatively quick one, let's say, if I have all my ducks in a row, and I won't ramble like I normally do on the show, like I'm kind of doing now. But if you want to see what they've been up to, you can go to Agent _70 on Twitter and Instagram to see what he's been doing at New York Comic-Con. Tim DOGG98 on Twitter, and also the KLIQ Nation, that's the KLIQ NATION, and also the CB Cron Twitter site, where you can go check all that stuff out. I am Righty Cat. I am the other dude on the show, you know. And like I said, it would just be me. But no guests, nobody else, just me. You can find this podcast at cspn.us every week. Normally we would record every Friday night, 9 p.m.-ish. And it comes out on this here channel, which would be the kliqnation.com/live, or the YouTube link, or the YouTube of the KLIQ Nation. And you can also subscribe to the podcast, which the audio usually comes out on Saturdays, I think Saturday mornings, at any podcast place, you know, Google Play, iTunes, I believe we're on Stitcher, SoundCloud, all of those places, you know, and probably a few others that we don't even know. But nevertheless, you can also shop us, go to shop.cspn.us, so you can, you know, help us out. You know, we're trying to keep it moving with the podcast things, and you know, anything you could do to help us out by going to that link and going to the links there would help us out certainly. Like I said, this is going to be a pretty short show, I believe, because like I said, it's just me, and I don't want to. And I'm actually kind of hungry, so that's kind of that's going to hurry my things up too long. But at first, we will start off with the books of the week, which I have read a few of that I will talk briefly about. So you might say that we can normally would go into a pretty lengthy discussion, then do rapid fire, but we're going to combine all of that this week, because one, there are also no sound effects either. So that's going to make this hurry along a little bit. And starting with the first book, I actually almost changed it so I could do the news first and then do and end off with a thing like we used to do, but I figure, why not? But the first book that I'm going to talk about here tonight is Spirits of Vengeance #1. Now, in this year 2017, you know, coming out of the Marvel Legacy stuff, as you can see here, you know, we have this new book, Spirits of Vengeance. Despite what the cover says, not everybody appears, because what we have is one Johnny Blaze coming back into the fold after some length of time, finds himself out on the Route 66 trying to keep a low profile or whatever. Then he gets approached by this person or at least who we think is a person, who's bleeding out and gives him this silver bullet and tells him to go to Damien Hellstrom, which Johnny sent Prim to do. The thing is, we found out that this person is an angel. Now the funny part about that is it doesn't seem like during the course of reading this you would actually know that this person was a demon. And it was only because of the reading the solicitation for the book that came with this big book that you would know that, or at least you would know that right off the bat anyway. Because like I said, this person ends up, or this angel ends up expiring after this, sending Johnny to go on his quest. He meets up with Damien Hellstrom, who I thought during the last days of magic kind of went poof himself, if I remember correctly. But oh, okay. But apparently he's alive and well and living pretty posh, if all told. So it's kind of funny. So anyway, he and Johnny go off and do some sleuthing to try to figure out, because Damien has no idea who would be sending him a silver bullet, much less a spent silver bullet, or why. So that leaves both of them kind of on a merry chase, using the means at his disposal. This thing kind of actually plays out, weirdly enough, like a Blade movie. Weirdly enough, now that I'm thinking about it, like I thought about this previously, or at least right after I read it, but yeah, it really does seem like, I was like, yeah, this could be a plot of a Blade movie, or even another Ghost Rider movie. But even though we've already had two and they sucked, yeah, we may or may not want to go back down that road. But nevertheless, so yeah, their sleuthing ends up, being fruitless for a minute, until they decide to bring in one other person, and that being actually the aforementioned Blade, who we see at the end of this issue, already handling some stuff that's probably has nothing to do with what's going on. So that is that. Like, this was an interesting read. It definitely got me wanting to come back to the next issue to see what's going on with this. Presumably, I think this isn't ongoing. I'm not actually, not I think actually I'm not. No, it's part one. So this, I mean, the way Marvel's been handling their stuff lately, who knows? Like, it could be it could have started out an ongoing series and ends up being a limited series. Who knows? But regardless, I'm curious to see where this goes. Another little tidbit that I actually found out was, and I did not know this, because this is the kind of the part of the Marvel universe that I am not that terribly versed in, and that was that Damien Hellstrom and Satana, who you see on the cover, are brother and sister. Or maybe I just blanked that out. I don't know. What does it mean for anything? Well, I guess that at some point you'll know why she's gonna end up involved in this book. Nevertheless, like I said, it was a pretty cool read, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next. And the art was really nice. Actually, there was another thing about it. There was some parts that felt like some parts of a Spawn movie, or the Spawn movie, if you think about if you think about it. So if any of these characters are, you're curious about, or whatever, or anything I've just said is something that you would be interested in, maybe check that out. Like that. There wasn't, it seems like it's something shaping up to be something that could be cool or not. The next up, I guess, you know what? I will go to actually Avengers 672, which I guess would be whatever. So this is starting the Marvel Legacy numbering for older titles. I actually can't remember what was it, Avengers, what was it, 11? It might have been I'm going to check it real quick. Kind of doesn't really matter because, like I said, we have the legacy numbering now. So the old numbering kind of doesn't really make any difference. You know what, wait, Gavin, that's going to take some time. Regardless, Avengers 672 starts a whole new arc that brings together the Avengers team and the champions, the AKA, as Hercules said it, the JV squad. So he also had a nice little tidbit. No, this is not even a nice little tidbit. A mentioning of the name champions. He who was a former member of said champions book or champions team, you know, kind of gave it a little bit of praise, which was interesting and cool. And I actually totally forgot about his connection with him and Amadeus Cho when they held down the Hulk book for a minute. But so what this finds us as separately, the two separate teams found out about this. Well, apparently there was an event not terribly unlike a solar eclipse, which now that I think about it, it happens, and the satellite's supposed to be getting images from around the sun, and we have both sets of teams individually debating the existence of Counter-Earth, which has been another Earth that's been around in the Marvel Universe for quite a while, and we've even seen the provider of Counter-Earth, aka the High Evolutionary, which Nova mentions, during the course of he and Amadeus Cho talking about. But for whatever other reason, the more scientifically inclined folks on the teams, aka Amadeus Cho and Nadia Pym, not counting Peter Parker, discounting Peter Parker, I should say, disputes that there can't be another Earth on the other side of the sun because of scientific reasons, which are explained in the book, which makes sense because if there was another Earth, it would knock off, rotation of the planets, blah, 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 whatever. So during this event, and while people were watching, a meteor just spits through a whole rift in space, heads towards Earth, which sends both teams separately to the same place and find them, in some cases, begrudgingly working with each other to try to stop the impact of the meteorite from hitting Kentucky, of all places. So yeah, like I said, because of the fact that you had the the senior members of the champions, aka Miss Marvel, Miles Morales, Spider-Man, and Nova were members of the Avengers formerly, and had a bit of a falling out going into Civil War II with them, hence them forming their own team. Well, yeah, I guess I should have figured that was going to happen. There's some a little bit of bad blood, and even some that's been cropping up in between Vision and Vision during the course of or as of recently, which is weird to see, But nevertheless, they end up working together, and they end up breaking off into teams because while stopping the initial meteorite from coming in, some other stuff tends to break out across the Earth, and so the teams have to break up into smaller teams and go help out where that happens. Meanwhile, Amadeus Cho and Hercules ends up, some would argue, making things worse because there is a big chunk of meteorite that was not necessarily saved from hitting the ground, but slowed enough to where it could hit the ground, which caused the actual chain of events for them to break up into smaller teams. And something happens with that piece of meteorite that may cause a bigger issue. That is the big bad of this here storyline. I don't know. I enjoyed seeing the two teams come together. It, I don't know whether this event / mini series, whatever, or mini arc, whatever it is going to. Well, I know what it's supposed to do, judging by what we talked about even last week with the certain solicitations of other books, as a matter of fact, I think this book is I think this one is just going to go through Champions and Avengers. So this is just the one that goes through with them. But so whether there's going to be resolution between the two teams after this is all said and done, or any kind of new status quo in between them, because of this, we shall see. But like I said, the next issue of the story arc will be in Champions number 13. So I am looking to see what happens with that. It's also worth noticing that the art is different in this one, as opposed to, because I can't remember who does the art normally in this. Now that I think about it, but the art was all right in this. It was noticeably different from other issues because, it was actually Mike Del Mundo was doing Avengers initially, and I can't remember if he's been doing. Yeah, actually, he did do the last issue. Could I remember? Because that's with Selfie taking Vision in Hercules. But regardless, this is a new artist on this one. I'm assuming for this art and for the Avengers, but we shall see. Next up. And actually, next up and finally, we'll start our Star Wars block, because the last 3 books I've read were Star Wars books, which is kind of appropriate, I guess, given some news that came out that came out earlier today before I recorded on. Again, I am recording this on a Sunday at the end of New York Comic Con. And next week, I forgot to point out, actually, next week, the guys, when they come back from their sojourns, may or may not be with PC Nunscores, who knows. But when those guys come back, then they will hopefully recount their experiences at New York Comic Con, and we should all look forward to that, because I know that's what everybody's waiting for. So. I knew of one other person that went to NYCC, and I didn't get the chance to talk to him before I did this, but it seems like they had what I've seen from the tweet, they had a good time. So regardless, we're going to do the Star Wars style, and we are going to go, we're going to start from, I guess, chronologically with Star Wars Darth Vader number 6. And I should be writing this stuff down, but whatever, I have to get to that in a minute. As the cover, I actually enjoyed this book for one reason and one reason only, and that is being, if you're watching the video of this, the cover says so right now, and that is the Grand Inquisitor rather, that has been seen in as of late in Star Wars Rebels. If you're watching that show up here, and he and Vader meet. In a not too spectacular fact, in a kind of a spectacular factor, I guess, but it was all, of course, set off by the Emperor, unbeknownst to either one of them. But we come to bring in not only the Grand Inquisitors, but also the other Inquisitors that we have also seen from Star Wars Rebels. So this was a treat for me, because, like I said, I am a fan of Star Wars Rebels, and actually, I'm not in, like, the whole Inquisitor arc was definitely kind of interesting, even up until their role at the end of season 3. Was last season? Yeah, because season 4 is next season, and it's last season, which is a bummer, because that was a good show. So if you haven't seen Star Wars Rebels, you may or may not know these characters. And like I said, the only one that's really been given any kind of time in this issue is the Grand Inquisitor, which we see on the cover. But nevertheless, that introduced them, and apparently going into a new arc, which is going to involve them. I guess one other thing to note about the Inquisitors, well, actually about this book in general, if you are not aware of it, is the fact that, excuse me, that this book takes place right after Darth Vader is quote unquote born, as opposed to the last volume's book, which took place after A New Hope, which I love that book. You know, it was great. It also introduced like a good 3 characters that I still love to this moment, but they are so often their own book, having their own times, aka Dr. Aphra and the Killer Droids, and they're still enjoying their life, thankfully, over there. But again, like I said, this one takes place like right. So this is pretty much right after the Clone Wars is over, and Order 66 has been given, and Darth Vader, you know, growing into being, you know, the Dark Lord Sith that we know and love / hate, whatever the case may be. So, yeah. Given also the fact that the Grand Inquisitor is shown prominently in this, we also see, although they don't get any lines, I guess, if we're talking movie terms, it looks like the 5th brother and the 5th sister, oh geez, the other 2 Inquisitors, I believe is the 5th and 6th brother and sister. I believe that who they are, but they are shown in here, and I'm sure someone will correct me on that if there's a difference. But regardless, fans of Star Wars Rebels know who I'm talking about. Like whether they play a prominent enough part in this, or this is just going to be them following the Grand Inquisitor and whatever. And then we also see a couple other Inquisitors in here that I don't remember them showing during the course of Star Wars Rebels. But I'm not sure. I actually, reading this issue has gotten me to go back and watch the episodes that not only the Grand Inquisitor comes in, but basically that whole arc up until the end of season 3, which I kind of wanted to do anyway, because like again, I like the show, and even though I wasn't. Well, wait. That wasn't season 3, was it? Well, either way, I think it might have been season 2. Because now that I think about it, yeah, that led up to the fight with Vader and Ahsoka, which we still don't know what we don't know what happened with Ahsoka after that. I personally still think she's alive, but I guess we shall see what happens after that. And she never did, and she didn't show up during season 3, which was the last season. Now that I'm thinking about it. And that was season 2 where the Inquisitors came in. So you can stop the emails right then and there. But nevertheless, like I said, this is probably of the stuff that I've read, this is a candidate for Click of the Week. I guess that Avengers 672 was also, even though it is what it is on that one. But yeah, I enjoyed it further. Like seeing the cover was already, it was like, it had me slightly giddy for the most part. Like, oh shoot, we're getting some Rebels into this now, so that was all great with me. So yeah, like I said, fan of Rebels, go check this issue out. You know, and it looks like at the end of this issue, it seems that Vader and the Inquisitors are going on another hunt for another Jedi, who I'm going to not spoil. But if you're thinking, Inquisitors and Darth Vader, you can you may or may not be able to go along what lines that might be heading. But nevertheless, like I said, I'm looking forward to this arc. So the next book I am going to go into, let's see, is played that hand. Star Wars 37. Yes. The crown jewel. Oh, wait, that's Hasbro. We can't do that one. The crown jewel of the Star Wars universe. But yeah. So here we see the return of Scar Squad, led by one Sergeant Creel. That's the one holding the lightsaber. A familiar-looking lightsaber at that, by the way. It should be noted out. But yeah, so the Scar Squad has returned. Creel is getting chewed out by, not necessarily chewed out, but he's actually, I guess he starts out by doing some saber practice and then gets told off by Vader and also threatened by Vader. You know, but Creel, being a loyal member of the Empire, you know, and also arguably pretty effective at his job, swears that they're going to they won't fail Vader again, which leads them to go hunt down the rebels of the time period, which again, this book takes place right after A New Hope, and deals with that time period. So it's Luke, you know, Luke, Han, Leia, and the rest of the crew forming and you know, building up the rebellion. So yeah, Scar Squad is sent out to find the rebels in this one system, and they end up getting some help from the locals at the time by helping them out, which, you know, hey, what's an effective way to get people on your side is to help them out and to use, which is, and use them at that point, which is actually seemed like the theme of the next book that I'm going to bring up in a minute. But nevertheless, we see Scar Squad kind of going and doing their things. They end up finding this rebel base in this system, but none of the favorites are there at the time. They do some things, cause some havoc, and then leaves. During the course of it, Sergeant Creel, you know, kind of is, for lack of a better word, shook, because before his exit with Vader, the Emperor came along and he's like, oh my God, it's the Empire. So you can pretty much tell he's very loyal to the Empire from this, even though this guy has no fear of pretty much anything else. But during the course of you know, them trying to take out these rebels, that comes back into play, and Creel kind of goes off on his own to cause a little havoc. So when it's all said and done, you know, our rebels friends come back from wherever they were, which I'm guessing, well, given the events of the last few issues, everybody was kind of on, you know, kind of doing their own thing. They finally got back together, and they end up back at this spot where this rebel place was, and they find out, and they find they find the evidence of Scar Squad being there, and call it what it is, which seems to be in a declaration of war, and also basically Scar Squad calling them out to play warrior style. So and that ends that book, because it's like, well, they Scar Squad kind of left a lot of carnage in their wake, and which causes our heroes to be like, well, this is not good. We got to fight around our hands. So, and that's what ends this issue off. This was also another good issue because, you know, there's a lot to be said about the Star Wars in general, because people are like, there's always people that are like, well, you know, people kind of treat the movies like that's all there is to the universe, which is not true, because there's a lot going on in the universe outside of, you know, the few people that are the mainstays of the series or of the movies, and other stories and other things that could be brought up. And this book kind of has been doing that here and there by bringing in other stuff. And actually, now that I think about it, there is a backup to the main story, which has to do with old Obi-Wan Kenobi on Tatooine and Tuscans. It is told, which we don't get this right off the bat, but it is told from his perspective, or he's basically the omnipresent narrator until we finally see him. But it's basically a story of the Tuscans, and their how they are with the land and whatnot. So it's actually a side of a group that has shown up in the movies that that hasn't had much said or done about them outside of wherever they've shown up, but we only get the one part. But like I said, this not necessarily sheds a little light, but is definitely a story of them, and it's like that's interesting. I like seeing little stories like that because this kind of makes them out to be more than what is seen in the movies, and that's why I kind of like things like these Star Wars books and whatnot. Like, yes, I'm a fan of Star Wars, and I'm going to probably pick up and or watch and or read a good bit of stuff, which is one thing I will probably get to now to think about in a minute with one of the ads, I guess. But I enjoy these little side stories and whatnot because, like I say, you get to see a little bit more than what you see from the movies, and even with like the side stories of like Rogue One or the upcoming Han Solo movie, which apparently people don't want. But I'm like, what we see from the movies is not all there is of these characters, and what could be seen as milking the franchise for whatever it was is also another good opportunity to get some stories from these people that we don't get to see. Like, some people don't care about what happened to Han or whoever before he ended up with the rebels. There's stories that have been alluded to in the movies, or whatnot. And me personally, I'm curious about them. So bring them on, I say. Like, sure, they seem to be cash cows, but heck, they've already been printing money since forever in a day with these movies and whatnot. So as long as we get good stories out of them, that's what I'm all for. So let's see. And the last book on that note, I guess speaking of on that note, is that was the wrong window, Roddy. Journey to Star Wars: The Last Jedi, Captain Phasma #3, which actually is the last book I will be talking about tonight, and the last of the Star Wars arc in this week. So yeah, Captain Phasma and her pilot TN-3465 is still on this planet that's pretty much on the edge of the galaxy, and this actually takes place, as the name would imply, after Force Awakens and before The Last Jedi, which is coming soon. There's also news on that in the news section coming up, so look forward to that if you're watching or listening. So yeah, Captain Phasma and crew is down there, is still on this planet. They're still working with the natives to try to find this Revis person that they're looking for after the demise of Starkiller Base, because this person is the only person who knows that Captain Phasma was the one who brought down the shields of the base, as previously mentioned. So they're on the hunt for them. This person, Revis, looks like either has been captured or in alignment. Well, we're not really sure because we haven't seen this person since the book started. Are with a set of life forms that have come to the planet, just like the people Phasma in them meets. Well, I'm not sure. It doesn't necessarily say if these people were already here, but nevertheless, there are some folks that may or may not be holding Revis capture, or he could be recording, we don't even know. and some sea creatures that come out that hunt the people on this planet that Phasma has found, and talked to, which apparently she knows the language of because they come from another planet that she's seemed to be personally aware of. So during the course of this book, she and the pilot are trying to make sure that either Revis is dead or they're going to find him and kill him themselves. But the hurdle that they have are these sea creatures, which the people are scared of, rightly so, because they keep hunting them, because these sea creatures keep hunting them down every now and then. And Phasma is getting a lay of the land to see what's going on with that. They end up finding what looks to be a ship or something that Phasma ends up using to at least take care of the sea creatures that are bothering folks. And she also even rallies the troops as much to say, look, if you're with me, come with me if you want to live, type of situation, and I will lead you to victory. No, I wouldn't say Braveheart style, because we know that it didn't live that well, but nevertheless, you get the point. She gets a bunch of people to help her along, which she even says like she's just using them as a means to an end. Which again, like going back to Star Wars, as I just said, Squad kind of, without actually saying that, kind of was doing the same thing, but in more of and I guess a more nicer fashion, because like they were basically trying to get the locals to help them, by presenting a good side to the Empire. In this, Phasma kind of did that also, but like I said, as she tells the pilot, like they're just fodder. They're just means to an end. So, whereas Squad and Creel did not say as much, but nevertheless, it's the Empire, folks. That's kind of things go down. But at the end of this issue, we see, like I said, a resolution, not necessarily a resolution, but they get rid of the first hurdle, that being the sea creatures, and another snag presents itself to them after that's said and done, which, going back to, I guess, movies like Braveheart or any movies that have a battlefield where there seems to be, two opposing sides, something like that happens. You can get my drift on that. So this is a miniseries. And I think there's 2 more issues after this. So we will start to see the resolution and where this book ends up at the end of that. And hopefully how it ties into The Last Jedi outside of it being starring Captain Phasma, because the only thing we've gotten out of it so far is the fact that obviously Phasma was going to escape, but we see how she escapes the trash compactor she was thrown into, and she was sent out her, not sent, but she went out on her own quest because of what I said earlier. So whether it gets her to another place or this book was just used to get her out of the trash compactor and then just have some place for her at the end of it that would explain her not being, her being wherever she ends up in Last Jedi, then so be it. But I would like to believe there's probably going to be a little bit more closer tied to that, but I could be wrong, like I said. And I guess partially it doesn't really matter because, like, again, we know she's going to be in Last Jedi, so we pretty much know she's going to get out of the trash compactor. And people who watch the movies may or may not be, like, granted, there are Star Wars fans who will probably already know about this book and probably picking it up, and there are some that are really like, don't even care. Like, we know she's going to end up in Last Jedi anyway, so for whatever other way, so it kind of doesn't really matter. So this book is just for people who probably like the character. we don't necessarily get too terribly much backstory, or at least we haven't so far during the course of this book. However, Phasma has had a couple of bits of flashbacks to something, or I guess definitely some memories of hers while things are going on, during the course of the book, this issue and the last two. So from that, we know there's a little bit of there's some bits and pieces of backstory for her that we're getting, but nothing that's actually been spelled out quite fully. Will it come out in this at the end of this miniseries? We don't know. But regardless, it's a book with a character that some people seem to like, even though they didn't have a whole lot of screen time during Force Awakens. But that, folks, is it for all of the books that I have for this week, which means it is time for, you know it, you love it, the clicks of the week, which in this case is just one click of the week because it's just me. Given what I said as potentials, I think I am going to go with, and matter of fact, this is probably one of the few times I probably had one mostly figured out when we get to do this, usually when we record. So in this case, I think I'm going to go with Darth Vader number 6. And that is purely and probably strictly because of the fact that we got Inquisitors from Rebels. I mean, that was good enough for me personally. Like I said, Avengers 672 was pretty good. I did not get a chance to. Oh, hang on a second. You're gonna hear some rustling here, so no, you won't, because I'm going to mute this for one quick second. So yeah, there was a Catalyst. I knew I forgot something. There was a Catalyst Prime book that came out this week called Astonisher. And I haven't had a chance to read it yet. But by accounts, the story sounds rather familiar to me. Because, and if anyone from Lion's Forge or Catalyst from Lion's Forge hears this, I apologize in advance, but what it sounds like, first of all, I will actually read this. So this is what I'm saying right now will hopefully not be indicative of what the story actually is. But from what it sounds like if you know the new universe, the original new universe, not what they just did with Marvel bringing them back fairly recently, there was a character called Night Mask who went into people's dreams and battle stuff there. What this sounds like, again, I haven't read it yet, so I apologize to anyone, and maybe next time I'm on, or the next time this issue comes up, I will talk a little bit more about it. But it sounds like this is Night Mask, but for the superpowered individuals of this universe, because it sounds like this person on the cover, I don't know his name. He also had a way. So if you know anything about the Catalyst Prime universe, there was an event that happened involving a meteor that was going to said to be going to kill everybody on Earth, but was saved by these people, and saved by a group of astronauts, almost movie style. Yes, you know the movies. But those people who went on this suicide run, that being Noble and a few other people, and people on Earth end up getting superpowers from this meteorite happening. And apparently, the twist of it is that the person who fronted the mission to go to undergo this mission is the bad guy. So, which I thought was a neat twist. Now, from that, the other books from Catalyst Prime that are handling various parts of the universe. but astonishing is what seems to be handling the fact that, like I said, they can go through superpowered people's dreams and battle what's there. And I guess it kind of makes sense, because the most dangerous thoughts and dreams and whatnot would probably be going through the mind of a person with these new superpowers in this universe. So this person, some kind of way, is going through those. And apparently this guy also, the reason why I brought up the old event, it seemed like this guy also had an alternate solution to the meteor problem, but that not only ended up not getting used, but seemed like making him into a crackpot and gave him some issues. And I think that was before they ended up with the power to do what they're doing now. Like I said, I'm going to check this out, and I guess if I wrote reviews, which I probably should start, but I'm not entirely, stay tuned for whether that's going to happen or not. But like I said, next time I'm on, if I'm ever on and this book shows up again, then I will probably talk more about it. Nevertheless, click of the week this week, after all that rambling, and apologize for that, is Darth Vader number 6. And we are going to move on to the news section. But first, before we do that, I have an ad read, because that's what we do about this time. And the one thing you don't need to see is that, which luckily I'm not doing a screenshot. So cool. And I'm doing this all by myself. Normally I would be just handling the news section and whatnot. So first, let's see. First one of the night is, let's do Audible. Let's do, and I'm actually going to screenshot this. Yep. Bear with me for one moment. Oh, wait a minute. I just had it. Sorry. Normally I would do this. There we go. And now, Audible. If I can pull this up. Should have had this somewhere else, but that's okay. Let's see. Today's podcast is brought to you by Audible.com. Get a free audiobook download and a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/Comic Chronicles. Over 150,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. For you, the listeners of Comic Chronicles podcast, Audible is offering a free audiobook download with a free 30-day trial to give you the opportunity to check out their services. You can check out books like the one you see on the screen if you're watching the video from a certain view, the Star Wars book, 40 Stories, celebrating 40 years of Star Wars. It is an anthology book made by various authors and whatnot, including a few notable people in and out of the Star Wars universe, mostly in the Star Wars universe though. And it looks like, well, yeah. So anyway, the book is out in store. The hardbook book out is in store and is in ebook form, but apparently they also have this audiobook, with a nice cast of people doing narration for it. I almost kind of want to pick this up for that, actually, but I already bought the book. I may still do it. Who knows? But oh wow, Griffin McElroy. I didn't know he wrote something. Well, yes, I did, because I guess I did. But yeah, like I said, people in and out of the Star Wars universe wrote for this, and here you get a narration by people including Neil Patrick Harris, Daniel Jose Older, Mark Thompson, one Janina Gavankar, who is the star of the Star Wars Battlefront 2, by the way, and debate is going on at this moment, and Ashley Eckstein, aka Ahsoka. So yeah, that is one of the books you can get. Also, or you can get Marvel, The Untold Story. You know, this book's interesting from what I've read of it anyway, which just tells, as it says, it is a telling of the of Marvel Comics from one person's perspective. Has a bunch of interviews in it and Marvel insiders. So yeah, you can check that out from audible.com. And yep. And I don't think there's any more for this. But yeah, exactly. Go check that out. audibletrial.com/comic book chronicles. Check out one of those books or anything else you feel inclined to check out from there. Free, 30 days. You can't beat that. Heck, actually, I would probably do it just for that Star Wars book. That's just me though, you know. And now on to the cinematic news as we do at this time, and I'm going to do I don't know why this other stuff is showing up, but that you can't see that I'm calling attention to. Nevertheless, first up, The Gifted. Actually, these first three are from that show, so buckle up for that. Polaris is close to being to the comics beyond Magneto connection. And I will actually go through and do the next couple, by the way. So The Gifted's Shatter looks pretty X-Men comic accurate according to CBR. But you can see pictures of them from the Twitter feed. Which, yeah, okay, cool beans. So and yeah, and that last article basically I think was a it was an interview with the showrunner saying that yes, indeed, Polaris in the show is Polaris is indeed Magneto's daughter, and it sounds like in more ways than in one. So if anybody is watching that show, I know it just started. I haven't had a chance to check it out yet. But I am looking forward to. There are a couple of different shows that I am actually looking forward to checking out. Gifted being one of them, because I'm hearing pretty good things about it lately since it started. And like I said, there's that one and there's that one. And the last from that is Stan Lee's The Gifted cameo. X marks the spot. So Stan Lee, father of one of the fathers of Marvel Comics as we know it, you know, Stan the Man, who has also been doing cameos in pretty much every Marvel movie to date. Long may he reign. Has actually has a cameo if you see it in what looks to be the first episode of oops, I guess that's a spoiler by showing that. Has a cameo in the first episode of Gifted. If you've seen it, good on you. If you haven't seen it and care to, then guess what? You're in for a treat. And I guess spoilers. I don't know. Like if I remember correctly, Stan Lee has been in a couple of the Netflix shows also. I'm not sure now that I think about it, because I feel like I've seen him in at least one. And this article probably says so, but I'm not even going to go there. So speaking of Marvel Cinematic News, new Thor Ragnarok fan theory suggests Odin has the final Infinity Stone. And I guess if you go by the picture that I'm showing here on the video, if you're watching that, I wonder if it's his eye patch, because I can't imagine what else it would be. Like what, his scepter or something? Which I doubt that. But yeah, apparently there was a fan theory that that Odin has the last Infinity Stone, of which there are 6 gems. Damn it, gems. And I guess we'll find out during Thor Ragnarok if that is the case, because this is the last movie leading up to Infinity War. And wait, am I right? I'm all right. I think I'm right. Yes. So yeah, it would make some sense that somebody has it, and since this being the last movie, maybe that's it, or maybe this fan theory is wrong, and that's not who has the final instance. Maybe Hela has it. That would make more sense to me, or as much sense to me. And it is wrested from her hands some kind of way. Who knows? We'll find out in a month. Oh, good gracious. Next month's going to be bananas. Speaking of Avengers Infinity War, IMDb fuels Silk speculation. So that's interesting. Spider-Man character Cindy Moon, aka Silk, may be headed to Avengers Infinity War, because who isn't at this point except for like me? I don't know. So yeah, there's IMDb has a credit that's been added to. Oh, okay. So Tiffany Espenson, who was in Spider-Man Homecoming, appears to have a credit in Infinity War. Oh wow, wait, Cindy Moon was in Homecoming. I totally forgot about that. I need to watch. You know what? That movie's about to come out on DVD, and I'm totally gonna watch it again because I totally didn't catch the fact that Cindy Moon was in Spider-Man Homecoming. I mean, we got allusions to and my apologies for the slurping, but yeah, that's interesting. So if you don't know who Cindy Moon is the other person who ends up getting bitten by the same spider that Peter Parker did. And we find this out at the onset of Original Sin, or at least Peter did, and then she ends up coming into Spider-Verse, and her and Peter has a very hormonal thing because of the spider bite, which is kind of weird and funny at the same time. But nevertheless, it appears that Cindy Moon was in Homecoming and is poised to be in Infinity War some kind of way. Doesn't necessarily say that she's going to be Silk in Infinity War, or she could just be like what Peter gets called up and she just happens to be there, you know, around him when he does. Who knows? But nevertheless, that's interesting nonetheless, because that could also mean that heck, she could get into a movie of her own. They could be spinning her off into a movie of her own, which I haven't read so much of the Silk series, but you know, from what I have read, especially with the Spider-Woman miniseries that happened a couple of years ago, which was really good. You should check that out. I don't know. I can like the character. It's kind of interesting. But that's that. So if that speculation is being true, that's going to be kind of cool. Next up on the DC side of things, Batman Ninja feature-length anime coming from Afro Samurai creator. I made a joke on Twitter asking if Batman is going to get the #2 headband. If you know Afro Samurai, which I still haven't watched the whole thing of, by the way, so that's kind of a fatal flaw. Will that happen? But of course, it's Batman. They'll probably have the #1 headphone. Anyway, this anime will also feature talent from Kill la Kill and JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. And JoJo's Bizarre Adventure lives up to its name, let me tell you. So yeah, but it is most of this stuff is coming out from New York Comic Con. I should point out some of it is before, some of it is during. Actually, a couple of them came out today because I wanted to keep it for myself and not have the guys talk about it next week. But they probably will if they get to it. So there were some things I didn't want to leave to them at that point. But this was already in my lineup, so whatever. So yeah, it doesn't necessarily say when it is coming out, with the exception of the fact of next year. This all came out during a Comic-Con panel. So actually, it might have come out before. Yeah, this came out before, but it was going to be presented during the course of NYCC. So that's cool. Another Batman project. Yay. Although I joke. I mean, I just don't even joke because there's a lot of Batman out there. Good gracious, you would think other characters could get some shine, but whatever. This one seems kind of interesting to me for the anime aspect, and you know, where it's coming from, basically. So yeah, like I said, the screenwriter for Kill la Kill, which is an anime I haven't seen yet, and the Afro Samurai creator Takahashi Okazaki. So sweet. The film is being directed by Junpei Mizusaki, who's best known for his work as a producer on JoJo's Bizarre Adventure and his animation work on various Mega Man games, including X7 and X8. So there you go. Pedigree, folks. That'll be interesting, though. That's definitely going to look good for if anything else. So tune up for that next year, excuse me. Speaking of news, and this came out today, and I put this in next week's lineup because I know the guys will probably want to bring it up, but I wanted to mention this myself because I am thrilled about this, and that is Batman the Animated Series Blu-ray collection coming in 2018. Now, if you're like me, you already have all of you have them all on DVD already. You can bet your bottom dollar I'm probably going to get this coming to Blu-ray because, yeah, the DVD, the standard blue, and matter of fact, I shouldn't even say that because that's whatever. But I have a digital copy of these of the Batman animated series also that I have took the liberty of making archive copies of. Probably shouldn't have admitted that on this, but whatever. Blu-ray, a Blu-ray version. That's going to be awesome. Let me see. It was announced earlier today, so I had to put it in the lineup, and I definitely had to mention it myself, like I said. And apparently, let's see. All right, Master of the Phantasm, which was the very first Batman movie, is also out, so you should go check that out. And it's also a Blu-ray version of that, which again we had talked about and is out, so you should definitely check that out because that is a great movie. Like I said, this collection was announced during the Batman the Animated Series 25th anniversary panel, which I would have loved to have gone through. I don't know if Agent 70 or Tim got a chance to go to that panel if they saw it, because I know there was a lot going on and they had other things they had things they were trying to do. But that would have been a panel if I was able to go to NYCC. Oh wow, just jumped to nobody, huh? Okay, cool. So that would have been a panel I would have loved to have gone to, definitely, for sure. No details such as release date or price point were confirmed, but it'll be later in 2018. So look out for that when that happens in stupid auto-playing things. Nevertheless, Empire unveils a host of new Justice League action shots and describer covers. You know what? Great. Pictures. Cool. Also, Green Lantern goes all in gorgeous new Green in Justice League, Justice League poster. So there you see, if you're watching the video, the poster for the Green Lantern poster for Justice League, which I guess that confirms that Green Lantern is gonna be in it. I mean, there was nothing saying that it wasn't anyway, because there's always been been talk around that happening here anyway. Never mind all of that, because today, DC heroes unite in the new Justice League trailer. And folks, I watched this like 2 times earlier before recording, and this is making me a little bit more excited, for Justice League, which comes out November, was it 17th? Yep, November 17th. I was right. So next month, folks, the 17th day of November, Justice League is coming out. And like I said, if you haven't had a chance to watch the trailer, and again, I think the guys may or may not talk about it next week, but I wanted to put it in here for my own gratification. But yeah, it was a good trailer. Go check it out. Again, the show notes, well, you will see the show notes again when you see my lovely face in a little bit. But yeah, it was a good trailer, I thought. And looking forward to it. Flash season 4 will take Earth 2's Wells on an epic emotional journey. So we are on the cusp of, wow, Flash season 4 is about to come out in a few short days, folks. And apparently, speaking to Entertainment Weekly, Andrew Kreisberg revealed that Harrison Wells is going to go on a nice little emotional journey, and I will not sing sentimental journey because no one wants that. So, quote, "We were picking up with Harry. We felt like we managed to pull off 3 different Wells in 3 years, and rather than just going down and doing another well, we definitely felt that there's more meat on the bone with Harry." So yeah, sounds like not original Wells, because that one ended up not being someone else, but the Earth 2 Harrison Wells is going to be back, and they're going to give him some emotional resonance. So cool. That was a good character. I need to catch up on Flash, so that's one thing or another. Black Lightning Grammy winner Jill Scott cast as DC villain Lady Eve. I know nothing of this villain. I know nothing of Black Lightning's Rose Gallery, but whatever. I am here for Jill Scott playing something. Matter of fact, which is weird. So, little side note, when I saw this article, I had just finished listening to Cross My Mind by her, just out of the blue, and then this came up. Coincidence? Yeah, probably, but whatever. It's good to see Jilly from Philly, working, which she has. I'm not saying she hasn't been doing this, but I love her. She's gorgeous. So apparently, let's see, according to this article, let's see, Lady Eve will be the bridge between Tobias Well, who coincidentally is an actual LA rapper named Crondon. I know the name, but sure, I don't know none of this stuff. And a secret group of corrupt leaders. So this ought to be interesting. It is also worth noting that Jill Scott's not the first time she's done some superhero work. And I was actually watching this a couple of years back, or not even a couple of weeks, but a couple of weeks back. She was she voiced Storm in BET's Black Panther a couple of years ago. And of course, she's been doing. I didn't know she was on Fringe. That's interesting. I still need to watch Friends, but yeah. So she's been putting on some acting work, and I look forward to checking out, because Black Lightning is a series that is going to be interesting to me, not knowing that much about the character outside of Super Friends, and partially reading a miniseries that he had at one point. So yeah, that ought to be dope. Let's see. Next up, Netflix is co-financing the new Shaft movie and will help change the game and movie distribution. Okay, there's going to be a new Shaft movie. Netflix is co-financing it. The only reason why I put this in here is because there was a Shaft comic book as of a couple of years ago, written by one David F. Walker, and it was great. This movie probably has this movie has nothing to do with that miniseries. I mean, with that series. Let's go ahead and put that out there right now. Be nice if it did, though. Sounds like if they are going by what was a previous Shaft movie that was supposed to be in development by New Line, Son of Shaft, then it's going to be Samuel L. Jackson reprising his role, and Jesse J. Usher, who's going to play his son, if that is the case. But hey, Netflix making moves to throw some movies out there. That's and not that I say that they haven't been making moves like this, because they've done little stuff like this. They've definitely been throwing original series and anime and whatnot on there. So cool beans for that. Next up, stop it, you. Marvel's Luke Cage first look. Iron Fist joins Luke in season 2. So we are basically going to get Heroes for Hire. Or maybe. We don't know. Like I said, that's what it sounds like it's going towards. So here is my thing about that. On the Iron Fist, yay for Luke Cage season 2. And hey, can we get a Daughters of the Dragon series? Please and thank you. So yeah, does it say when season 2? 2018. That's when it's coming up. Okay. Next up, Netflix's newest superhero drama is about a single mother and a superpowered son. Now, I had heard rumblings on this, but I had not actually checked this out too thoroughly. But it is a series called Raising Dion, which is based off of a book by a comic book at that by Dennis Liu. And is about a single Black mother raising her young metahuman son. The series will focus on the woman's day-to-day life, trying to reach her son how to teach her son how to control his abilities while invading governmental agency that's hunting them down. That is from the article. So look out for that for definitely. So it is it doesn't say when it is coming out, but it's being produced by Macro, whatever that is, with American Gods showrunner Michael Green, and apparently Michael B. Jordan has a hand, which I think might be Michael B. Jordan's production company or something. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that one. But Michael B. Jordan has also been attached in an unnamed supporting role, which would make sense if it is partially his baby, or if it is his baby that is producing this. So I probably should have looked that up before this, but nevertheless, check it out, because this is the side of superhero stuff we don't really get in more ways than one. It's weird that he's doing the Emperor Lightning Hands here, but I don't know what the extent of his powers are. So that's interesting. And I'm looking at the picture that is on the article. That's basically a GIF. So moving right along, Marvel's The Punisher pulled from New York Comic-Con after Las Vegas tragedy. So yes, The Punisher was supposed to be at a panel on October 7th, which was yesterday at the time of this recording. But after the mass shooting it was the last Sunday, actually. Last Sunday night, actually, there was a mass shooting in Las Vegas. I'm sure you have all heard about it. It was indeed a tragedy, and just like I said last week, if prayers and prayers are one thing, and definitely the victims of need all that, but in this case we need way more than prayers, because it was senseless gun violence that should not have happened. And unfortunately here in the US it goes unchecked if it's certain people that are wielding the guns, and those people don't like that fact that the people are trying to take away their guns. But guess what? This stuff keeps happening. It was the largest mass shooting, I would say, of recent date, but it is. But the last one was 16 months ago here in the US. And it shouldn't keep happening. It really shouldn't. So, and I don't care if people will say, you get political on the comic book, talk about politics. Look, there's room to do both, especially when they intertwine. So you will be all right. And if not, you're probably the problem. Chances are you're probably the problem anyway. But nevertheless, like I said, they pulled Punisher from which was a good thing to do, because it seemed, yes, it's a week after the fact, but it still seemed a little insensitive, especially given the makeup of the Punisher, in his history. So you're still getting the show, folks. Don't worry about it. It's just that, you know what, people are trying to exercise a little bit of sympathy, or sensitivity, I should say. So anyway, moving right along, Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. ups Natalie Cordova-Buckley to series regular for season 5. That is also news that came out of New York Comic-Con, which is dope, because I love this character. Natalia, excuse me, I can't remember what I just said. So she plays the character of Elena Yo-Yo, I can't remember what her last name is. Great. Rodriguez, excuse me. So yes, she plays Yo-Yo, aka Slingshot, and she's dope. So I'm glad she's going to be a series regular for season 5, which I think is the last season of the show, if I'm not mistaken. So if you don't know who that is, she's an Inhuman, and she has the ability to basically slingshot back and forth in the beat of a heartbeat. She basically runs real fast in the span of a heartbeat. That's that's the short the short version of it. There was also a web series involving her that I think may be still on Hulu. I'm not sure. I think it's called Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Slingshot. Really wasn't much to it, but it did showcase her, so check that out. If you get a chance, I think it's probably still up on Hulu. So, but like I said, that was dope. I love that character. So more her is awesome. She's fine too. Anyway, this also off the wire from earlier today. There is going to be a Black Panther Lego movie happening. So got this off of Black Girl Nerds, so shout them out because they were basically in full force at NYCC doing good things, great things there. So apparently, it is called Black Panther: Trouble in Wakanda, and it is just going to be another set of Lego animated movies. And you know what? Yes, bring it on, bring it on. Apparently, that came from Newsarama. No release date or further details on it, but I guess next year, maybe. I'm not sure how long it takes them to turn those around, but yep, let's do it. It is also worth noting that Lego Marvel Avengers 2, I believe is the name of it, is out or coming out very soon. Actually, I think it's out on for the video game front, and I believe Black Panther is in that, so you can go check that out. I believe, I can't remember, but I think it's he is probably DLC, downloadable content, which is kind of a bummer, but nevertheless, he's in it, so go check that out. Let's see. Now on to some Star Wars news. Lucasfilm, which is what I was alluding to earlier in the books. Lucasfilm confirmed Star Wars The Last Jedi ticket sales, and a new trailer arrived Monday. So if you happen to be watching this on Sunday night, the day of this recording, or if this comes out on a Monday and you're watching it then more than likely this is going to be old news, or beginning to be old news, because ticket sales are probably going to, or well, excuse me, because from what I understand, the new trailer is going to come out during Monday Night Football. So that's going to be later on Monday night. So if you're watching this anytime after then, you will probably have seen the trailer. The guys will probably talk about it next week. Because I will make sure I have something in the lineup for us to discuss. And again, ticket sales start Monday night. And I believe after, or when the trailer hits, it is going to ticket sales are going to be started around that time. So yeah, that's it. That's going to be on this 15th of December. So you might want to go ahead and get it. I'm probably going to go ahead and get my tickets if I can. Probably Ticketmaster, and the Ticketmaster. That's not it. Fandango, whoever else is probably going to be swamped. That's going to be something. And I still haven't gotten my Thor Ragnarok tickets, which I need to do that. So yeah. Yeah, it's like that. Some of this news I'm kind of taking for stuff that I'm basically doing some of the stuff to kind of lighten the load for next week. And I was actually planning, like I said, to do a show anyway by myself, but apparently, there were whatever. But in comic book news, wait, let me make sure that was it, because I could have sworn there was another one. Nope, that was it. Raphael Albuquerque working on new Neil Gaiman adaptation. So Raphael Albuquerque, who's a great artist, is adapting Neil Gaiman's 2003 short story, A Story in Emerald, into an 80-page hardcover for Dark Horse. So if you're a fan of Neil Gaiman and or Raphael Albuquerque, go check that out. Or whenever that happens, because next year, June 20th, 2018. So I'm sure we'll probably be talking about that again closer to that time, maybe. I don't know. Catwoman's answer to Batman's proposal is, spoiler alert, so this was for an issue of Batman, aka Batman 32, which came out last week, or which came out this week. I didn't read. I know one of the other guys, probably one or two of the other guys probably did. So they know the answer to that, and I'm sure they may end up talking about this next week on the show, because I know Tim's probably read it, and maybe Agent 70 or PSC_Dirty if he end up on the show. And if you're watching the bottom of the screen, it's probably getting spoiled for you already. So if you're not watching the video, you don't get to see that spoiler. And I just called it out because you may not have seen it if you are watching the video. So nevertheless, hey, there it is, folks. On to some Black Panther news. So I could have waited for a couple of these next week, but I chose not to. So from I like that article. That's cool. This is from IO9. The world of Wakanda is getting bigger in Marvel's new Black Panther. Oh, this is actually not that one, but this is the other one. The world of Wakanda is getting bigger in Marvel's new Black Panther Long Live the King comic. So this year we lost World of Wakanda book, which is sad because, you know, given that you're going to have a Black Panther movie, you kind of could have kept that book. I don't know what Marvel's doing, but nevertheless, we have a couple of books in its place. One of them being Long Live the King. It seems to be a one-shot that is based off of a character that came out, or that debuted in the recent Venomverse event. And I believe the book that it came out of from was Venomverse War Stories #1. I just picked up a copy of that, so I've not read it yet. But nevertheless, author and English professor Nnedi Okorafor is writing. Let's see, is writing this book, which is awesome because she's doing big things right now, and I want to go back and read some of her books that she has done. Partially because of that, because she is a name to be, and it seems to be a force to be reckoned with at this point. So I wish her all the best in everything she does. So, but it says here in this article that the beginning in December, digital issues of Black Panther Long Live the King will be available for purchase on Comixology, and also included in all subscriptions to Comixology Unlimited, which sounds like they're putting this under the banner of their Comixology originals, sounds like, which is okay, but is also a bummer because, like, for that new Iron Fist book that you may or may not have heard me talk about if you've listened to the show recently is under that. It's good that it's coming out, but it's not good because it's not going to get a whole lot of buzz or anything, like, unless you know about it. Because like every week I look at comiclist.com for the books that are coming out this week. That book is not going to show up there because it's digital only through Comixology, and they don't do that kind of stuff. And books like this are probably not going to get pushed by Marvel all that much. Which is really sad for that reason, for a whole host of number of reasons, and that being one of them. But it's good that this is coming out. But yeah, so like, yeah, so that is one of the books that is coming out, and that's going to start in December. And be sure to listen back to Combo Chronicles, because if anyone else on the show will be talking about this book, will be definitely bring up this book. Again, like I said, it's a one shot, and it's an alternate universe about which was the one thing I didn't get a chance to talk about. So yeah, the character from the Venomverse book is, if you know about Spider-Verse, it's not necessarily the same thing, but there is some similarities from what I understand, and that is being a whole host of other Venom characters coming out because of the event, and this being one of them. So this is an alternate universe where this young Nigerian girl gets bonded with a Venom symbiote and becomes Black Panther of that universe. Again, I have not read the story that the characters come from. The character came from, but I did get a copy of the book, and I absolutely plan on doing that. And again, I will be checking this book out when it happens on the 13th of December. Next up, in more Black Panther news, Evan Narcisse and Ta-Nehisi Coates revealed the rise of Black Panther, which actually I should go back to IO9 real quick, because their headline was pretty funny, which was Black Panther's origin will be explored by a comic by IO9's Evan Narcisse, a guy we know. I thought that was kind of funny. So yeah, there is another Black Panther book for it, and I am here for any more Black Panther related books that should happen to come about. This one is actually about the early days, sounds like, of T'Challa. And again, it will be written by Evan Narcisse and Black Panther writer Ta-Nehisi Coates, which, if like the other books, like the other book, World of Wakanda, you know, be providing the you know, they'll be intertwined with what's going on in the current the Black Panther book, or at the very least, you know, keep within the universe of it, would say. So it's set in the world of, like it says, this article says, set in the world of Coates' landmark Black Panther book. This new series will tell the story of young T'Challa and his lineage, showing how the world learns about the wondrous nation of Wakanda for the first time. It is a 6-issue run, and it will also explore the reign of T'Chaka, T'Challa's dad, whose death charge has changed to Wakanda's history and the life of T'Challa's birth mother, someone T'Challa has never had a chance to know. And this is the first time Evan Narcisse, who, if I'm not mistaken, is a pretty big fan from accounts of Black Panther, and has been bigging up Black Panther books whenever they pop out, you know, on IO9. So this kind of makes sense. But he'll be making his comics debut with this series, and you know, that sometimes that happens. You know, people from, well, IO9 is not necessarily a comic focused website, but you know, people in the media, the journalistic medium, where it's comics concerned, end up jumping to writers, and has happened a few different times. So this is nothing new, but it's also good because, like I said, Black Panther is one of my favorite characters, and more on him would be cool. Let's see. This came out during the panel. Yeah, it came out during the Cup of Joe Presents Marvel Legacy Avengers panel Saturday, which is another panel I would have loved to have gone to. Again, don't know if any of the other guys went there. I kind of wish if they could have thrown some video out there. Maybe they did, and I just missed it. I don't know. From NYCC, but I know it's real busy, so probably wasn't able to do that, even if they could. But again, we will hear about their Avengers next week. I guess this is kind of Black Panther related news. Ta-Nehisi Coates teases Storm comic news. Also another one of my favorites, longtime favorites. I have said this a few different times on the show. So apparently Ta-Nehisi Coates tweeted about meeting Jen Bartel, an artist who's done a lot of stuff for some things for Marvel, including America most recently. And according to this, says he got to talk collaboration and with Jen Bartel, and to stay tuned. He also tweets that he met Afua Richardson, which that's also dope. So it could be possible that we may be getting another Storm comic. Storm last volume was a couple of years ago, written by Greg Pak, and that was a good book, but it was short-lived because Marvel, I don't know what the hell you're doing, but really, And I'm not just saying that because both of these characters are black, but they are great characters with a lot behind them. I think favorites of mine, so I'm probably biased. But come on, you got more characters than just Iron Man, and Spider-Man and Captain America that you could be doing stuff with and propping up with writers of color at that behind it. So, just saying. If you were looking at the video, he's also tweeted the what looks to be a commission drawn by Jen Bartel of Storm, which looks cool. I like it. I've like some of the stuff that I know. I think she's done cover work for America. I can't remember. I know she's done some other stuff, and I'm blanking on where I've seen her work, but she's done some good stuff. And so this ought to be cool. Now, this fact, the Storm comic thing was also kind of confirmed when Axel Alonso was pressed during a Q&A on Friday. So hopefully it is indeed a thing that will happen, and we will soon have another Storm book that hopefully will get marketed properly, because the first one didn't, and those people that always talk about, well, people didn't want it enough, or it didn't sell in my shop, or stupid and stuff like that. I'm like, well, great, one shop. It's, Marvel still has to do the work at some point. Like, you can't just put it out there and expect the other people who want, and expect the people to just do it themselves. That is a wrong way of thinking. But of course, people that think like that don't think like that for characters that they care about. So, or don't care about. So, it is what it is. Hopefully we get a new one. Hopefully Marvel will do right and start to market it, and we will see an actual good run of Storm. Next up, off our very own Tim Dog writes this: Marvel announces Legion and Rogan Gambit ongoing series. That's two different series, by the way. So there's a Legion series and a Rogan Gambit series. Legion, who is Charles Xavier's son, if you did not know, and also there is a show based on the character that is out on the TV screens at this point. Is getting another series. So, and I say another series because I don't think he's actually had a series of his own outside of X-Men. Well, X-Men Legacy, that was his. I definitely, but I can't remember if he had another one outside of that one. Probably did, and there's probably been some. I know there's been like a mini series or two from back in the day, but nevertheless, let's get another series for what it's worth. I don't really care that much about that character, so I don't care that much about this book. Just personal feeling. Rogan Gambit, however, they have not had a book together outside of X-Men proper. So that ought to be interesting. Like, there are definite fans of both of those characters and both of those characters together. So, excuse me. So we will definitely be curious as to that. Like, Rogue is definitely getting some prominence with being the leader of Uncanny X-Men, and I think that book's probably about to come to an end, given storyline that's coming up. But yeah, that's cool. Can't remember if Gambit's ever had a series of his own. Probably did, but I'm not too familiar. I should probably. I'm just gonna sock this over to the side real quick. Moving right along, Milestone returns with Static Shock Earth M from DC Comics. So this has been news we've been following here and there. In fact, had gone dark for a long time, as we found out recently, because of some legal issues that has been going on with Dwayne McDuffie's widow and the people that are trying to bring back Milestone Media, which is the sad thing. But it's sounds like Milestone's back, and there's going to be some books from people we know. Sounds like, let's see, according to this article, Reginald Hudlin, who's also did a run of Black Panther, by the way, and Milestone co-founder and artist Dennis Cowan were joined by DC co-publisher Jim Lee, blah, 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 blah. So, let's see. Static Shock is going to be a series by Hudlin and Kyle Baker. I think I shouldn't have to talk about Static Shock because people know who that is. But basically, you know, he had a short-lived animated show and also a, you know, some slight runs in well, he had a definite run in Milestone, given that's where he came from. But I think he has also had a short-lived DC miniseries. I can't remember. Whatever. Not to belittle that, but that's also a great thing because I'm looking forward to reading that. Duo, a new Earth M miniseries written by Greg Pak, introduces to a story of a couple sharing one body for eternity. Oh, sounds like Starhawk. But that's terrible to have to share a body with somebody. Anyway, that sounds intriguing regardless. Love Army, a miniseries by Reginald Hudlin about a secret army of women with amazing abilities and super strength sworn to protect the planet. Anyway, Earth M. Actually, the premise of that, before it sounds like that, the premise sounds cool. So that part I'm looking forward to. It's Reginald Hudlin. I'm not too, I'm not sure about, and I don't know why that is. I mean, because the only thing I have is based off of his run of Black Panther, which I liked, but not. There was like the definitive Black Panther is to me is Christopher Priest's, which I don't think there's too many people who's going to dispute that one. Reginald Hudlin's run was okay, and actually I need to go back and finish reading it because I think I dropped off of it for some odd reason. And this is not about him or that, but I will say that for another time. The last book looks like Earth M, a new series from Hudlin and Atlas Randall featuring a new vigilante character. So yeah, so those are the 4 books that seem like they're going to start off Milestone Media's return to the DC universe, and it sounds like actually it's going to be in DC universe actually. So that's probably just as awesome news as anything because it'll get me to reading more DC books, and the fact that it'll be not its own separate universe, but in, well, it sounds like it is his own universe, but it sounds like it is tied within the DC Prime universe per se. Because, like I said, that Earth M, like it's basically saying it sounds like this whole thing is going to be on the Milestone universe, but I don't know if there's going to. I thought I saw another article saying that it will be implanted somewhere within the DC Prime universe, which it is a multiverse, so there could be some crossover with DC characters. My speculation. Excuse me, I had to get a drink of water there, so I apologize if that came through. But this is good news because, like I said, after going dark and after hearing about the legal issues going on fairly recently, it is good to know that stuff is still happening with that. Let's see, under the unofficial. Oh yeah, so yeah, we'll look forward to that when that happens, which looks to be spring of 2018. Next up, Meredith Finch to write a new Xena story for Dynamite Entertainment. That is Xena, the Warrior Princess. I don't know if there's ever been a book with her before, but nevertheless, Meredith Finch. And actually, it looks like she will be joined by her husband David Finch, who also writes, who has also written some comics. Who who will lend his legendary text by serving as cover artist for the series' debut issue. So yeah. Meredith Finch, if you don't know, did I believe a run of Wonder Woman. And I know she's done some other stuff, but I don't know too much of what she's done. But apparently, yes, there have been a few Xena Warrior Princess books going back to 97. So cool. Another one for the books. Let's see. Okay, so this one, yeah. So I wanted to find another source outside of this one before I brought this one up, but I could not. So I'm going to kind of try to play this a little evenly. Marvel Q&A goes off the rails as comic book retailers rail against black freaking female characters. So apparently there was a Q&A between Marvel Comics and retailers that happened at New NYC on Thursday, and one retailer had some words to say about all these by reports, I should say, had some words to say about the diversity characters of the I'm trying to get more words together. Basically, they were talking about if you've been around comics recently, there has been a whole lot about why did it have to be new characters? Why did it have to be black? In the case of Captain America, Sam Wilson, why do we need a new Iron Man? Be this black girl. Why do we have to have these? Why did Thor have to be a woman? That kind of situation. And apparently, people who I wish would go ahead and die out are still rambling about this stuff. Now, that said, this is a report from a site. Actually, excuse me. Apparently, this is through Bleeding Cool, which you gotta take that for what it is. But it says here in this article from The Week, the detentions that began with an unnamed sailor specifically expressed his distaste for Iceman kissing other men and Thor becoming a woman. The retailer's complaint sparked an outcry among the other retailers present in the room, some echoing his frustration with multiple attendees raising their voices to speak over one another. And apparently there were some attempts to try to calm it down, but and there were some words being said one way or the other. Now, again, this is a report. This is that come originally from Bleeding Cool and whatever. And I'm only saying that because I don't believe for a moment that something like this could have happened. In fact, given the state of the toxicity of certain fans in comic books, I wouldn't be surprised if this did. I would be more surprised if this didn't happen. And it's sad that there are people like that, and that is around, but sadly are always going to be these people. And if you know these people, shut them the hell up. It's not about them. They don't own these characters. I mean, there's a bigger issue at that state, and there's a bigger issue at state here in America, with anybody that are not a certain people, white people, in a lot of cases, given news. But it is what it is. We have to fight against it, folks. That's all there is to it. Now, the reason why I say reports is because, like I said, apparently it was not as it didn't seem from an account. It was not as bad. Like some of those choice words did get said, and some things were going around and whatnot. So something did happen. However, it didn't. From an account that I saw on Twitter from one Sherilyn Eaton, who went to Bleeding Cool's comic section and pulled this off of, made it sound like it that's not all the Q&A was. And in fact, the Q&A was as much, if not more, about actual books. So according to this, it says Marvel invited us to a no-holds-barred Q&A session right after the Diamond Distribution breakfast, where all other publishers presented, but not Marvel. So I'm assuming this is from that same. I'm thinking this is from that same thing, or a similar thing. And this one, just kind of paraphrase, they weren't necessarily talking about the diversity character, even though there was a thing that did happen. But during this panel, or whatever it was, they were talking about not being able to buy lenticular copies of legacy books, and the having to jump through the hoops that retailers have to do to get certain books. And I know our own PSN_Dirt has also addressed the issues that he is that his shop has, that you would have to go through to get certain books. And that is where a lot of the frustration was in this particular panel. And then it sounds like whatever jumped off with whatever that one retailer said, calling people really derogatory, or not calling people derogatory, saying derogatory terms and whatnot, actually did happen. But there was other things that was happening during the course of this Q&A, outside of that was as much of an issue as this thing happening, and which, again, it's a sad thing that we are living in this world that where that kind of stuff happens, that happens, that I'm not even going to give it, because I'm not even sure if I even have the words to do that right now, but rest assured at some point I will. But I'm going to move on because time is kind of slipping away from me, and I didn't realize I was going this long, because I had not intended to, and my voice is giving out. Stan Lee speaks out against bigotry and intolerance. So Stan Lee made a video, posted on Marvel's YouTube, and it was posted on Marvel's YouTube channel. I have not yet to see this, though. But according to this article from CBR, it says the 94-year-old reaffirms the publisher's stories of heroism have room, quote unquote, for everyone, regardless of their race, religion, or color of their skin. Goes on to quote, the only things we don't have room for, Lee continues, are hatred, intolerance, and bigotry. That man next to you, he's your brother. That woman over there, she's your sister. And that kid walking by, hey, who knows? He may have the proportional strength of a spider. We're all one big family, the human family, which is sounds like an all lives matter thing to say, but whatever. We're gonna move past that real quick. And we all come together in the body of Marvel. Again, this is in the show notes, which you'll see in a little bit. If you did not catch the link, well, actually, I didn't put this out on Twitter. And I intended to do that. Oh well. Hopefully, I will put the show notes will be in the below or somewhere around. But so yeah, Lee's, and it says here in the article, Lee's message not only arrives in the wake of the violent white national protests in August in Charlottesville, Virginia, and a recent public resurgence of white supremacy in the United States, but also increasing pushback from some of the corners of the comic book fandom, which I was just talking about, against Marvel's efforts to diversify its superheroes with the addition of characters like Kamala Khan, Miles Morales, Amadeus Cho, and I will add Riri Williams to that, since this article did not do that. Again, this is a sad state of affairs where we live in a world where that is an issue, but here we are, and it is sad. Moving right along, because like I said, that is a more loaded topic, one that I wish I had the words for right now, because it's probably the only time that I would get to speak on those words outside of a venue of my own. Nevertheless, I'm sure that will present itself when that happens. not that my words would change anything, but whatever. Josh Whedon and Erica Alexander to co-write Buffy the Vampire Slayer's Giles miniseries. So Dark Horse and 20th Century Fox are excited to give the Scoobies something fresh to munch on with. Blah, 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 blah. So Erica Alexander, just to paraphrase this, well, one, Max from Living Single. If you don't know who that is, and I don't know where you've been. Nevertheless, Max from Living Single, also co-writer of Cranky Park, I believe. So she has been doing some comic book stuff. I believe her and her husband did that series. So we now get a miniseries from Erica Alexander with an assist from Josh Whedon, which is interesting in itself because you're like, how in the world those two come together? Which is weird. But yeah, Giles is getting a miniseries, which is going to go on sale February 28th of next year. And I guess look forward to that. The art is being handled by Ariel Jovelanos. My apologies. Oh, wait, sorry. John Lamb, I'm sorry, is going to be is the artist. Dan Jackson is the colorist. And Steve Morris and the aforementioned Ariel Jovelanos will be doing covers for the 4-issue miniseries. So if you're a fan of Buffy the Vampire Slayer and in that Giles and feel like checking it out, go for it. That'll be next year. Last but not least, a good bit of happy news actually for someone, or for us all, I should say. Image Comics to publish Bingo Love. So this is dope. So I found this out on Twitter yesterday, a couple of days ago. I can't remember when I saw it. From the writer T. Franklin, who is the writer of this Kickstarter. So it was a Kickstarter that is coming out shortly on that front, and apparently Image Comics picked it up, and she was at I know she was at New York Comic Con this weekend because I've seen tweets from her from it, and she was elated about it. And I am happy for her for this because this is awesome. So if you don't know about Bingo Love is about two queer Black women and their love affair that spans decades, and I think starts over the love of bingo. So the story also explores the complications of coming out at an older age and how the decision affects their families' lives. It will hit stores in time for Valentine's Day, February 2018. So that's dope. Again, I know like this just came out, and I know I guess well, I know I backed this, and I should be getting a copy somewhat soonish. So I look forward to checking that out and reading that. So, and yeah, I guess that is also me saying, hey, full disclosure, I backed the Kickstarter for this book. So there is that. So good on T. Franklin. I wish I had. She was at Heroes Con this past June, and I wanted to meet her, but I was too busy running around like a silly person and still didn't get everything I wanted done. But like I said, hopefully I get a chance to meet her at one of these points soon. I don't know. But like I said, good on her. And also artist Jen St. Ange and colors by Joy Sand, who are also a part of the book. So that's awesome. And that, I think, is that, ladies and gentlemen, for the comic news, and wraps us around to the end of the show. Actually, wait, do I have anything in the grant cover? I do not. So, but before we go out of here, I got one last ad read to do. Let's see. And we've done that one enough. They'll kill me for this one, but whatever. Who's going to stop me, right? I'll probably get smacked for this one, but whatever. So last ad for the night comes from Adam and Eve, because you know what, comic book people have sex too. By the way, I know this is kind of a family show, but looking to spice things up in the bedroom? Why not surprise your lover with an adult sex toy, video, or accessory from Adam and Eve? Now, for the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles, can enjoy 50% off. I'm kind of hoping this is still good now that I'm thinking about it, because I probably should have asked beforehand. Anyway, can enjoy 50% off on any item available at Adam and Eve. You can use this discount on vibrators, sex toys, lingerie, dews and lotions, condoms, videos, and other naughty novelties found on the site. To receive this discount, visit the official site of CSPN, cspn.us. Then select the Keep Our Podcast Free link on the top of the site. Scroll down and click through our Adam and Eve link at the bottom, then go shopping. As you check out, put the promo code MDAY50, that's the letter M, Day, D-A-Y, 50, all one word, at the checkout. I'm mad because I wanted it to be the old code. But anyway, at checkout to receive any items priced up to 50% plus free shipping. Remember, you have to click the link through the CSPN to help us keep our podcast free with your order. Order Adam and Eve through cspn.us. Do it today. I could have done it. I should have some music behind me. Got a little sexy time going in, but you know what? It's all good. And that, folks, brings us to the end of this here Comic Book Chronicles episode. Again, Agent 70 and Tim, maybe PC and Unscarred, I'm not sure, but your regular hosts will be back next week and regale you with the tales of North Carolina, Lord, NYCC, and all the stuff that they hopefully have gotten and seen and done and all the good. Well, hopefully there'll be some pictures. I hadn't seen any pictures outside of the one of actually there was two of that was from Agent 70 with Tim and Agent 70. As I sit here and try to pull that out while I'm thinking about it, which is probably not the thing to do at this point. This is going on long enough. I apologize for the length of this because I do have a tendency to ramble, and I can probably see why people didn't want me to do a solo show. I understand. I get it. I still was going to do it because I'm salty like that. I'm like, we have 4 hosts. I can do this. Let me stop. Here it is. Here's a picture. Check out my boys. Look at that. Look at my boys. Yeah. So that's one picture, and then there was another one of them. But we will, I'm sure next week they will. You will see that picture and probably another one again. Nevertheless, this concludes this episode of the Comic Book Chronicles for this week. Thank you for the 1-2 people that happened to pop in live. I did not go to YouTube chat like I normally do, and I should have. My apologies for that. Nevertheless, there we go. You can find, I guess, if you're looking for me, you can find me at Rydercat on Twitter, also at News Nerds Need, and also at CBCaps on Instagram, where I tweet out, comic book panels. I actually had a good run this past Saturday of this recording. A bunch of stuff that I forgot to post before, trying to keep active with that one, and trying to get ready to do some other stuff that I'm hoping to do at some points. But yeah, check me out there. As it turns out, I may or may not be on the show next week. It doesn't look that way. I'm not sure, but we'll see. Regardless, the people and you want to see are going to be back. So that's all that's important. And you can find those people at Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. You can also find Tim at TimDogg98 on Twitter. You can also find him at CBCron, which is the website for this show. Which is the Twitter for this show. You can also find him at the KLIQ Nation. That's the KLIQ NATION, all one word on Twitter. where you can also probably find some stuff dealing with the show and other KLIQ Nation things. And also, last but not least, PC_Dirt on Twitter, Pop Culture Net on Twitter. I don't think he's doing Graham comic reviews on Instagram anymore, so maybe I should probably not say that one anymore. Nevertheless, go check him out there and all of his stuff. Again, you can find this fine show on cspn.us. If you haven't already, thank you very much. You can also find us on your podcast perusal place of choice. Hopefully we'll get on Spotify at some point. That'd be great. But, iTunes, Google Play, SoundCloud, etc., etc., etc. We out there. Shop.cspn. Go help us out. CSPN trying to do some things podcast-wise, and we need, sometimes that takes money to keep going. So go there, get some wares. There's some pretty decent comic book Chronicles related gear that you can probably get through that site, off of Redbubble. And I don't have the Redbubble site on me right now, which is why I didn't mention that right off the bat. But yeah, go check that out. And with that, folks, we will see you next Friday night or next week at some point with another show of the Comic Book Chronicles podcast. And I already stepped it over. So have a good night, folks, as I pull this up. I knew there was something I forgot to do. All I'm going to say is, folks, be good and be good to each other, because we are all we have. And, the color of one's skin should not be the reason to hate someone, or even their religious beliefs, even if they don't align with yours. But this is the world we live in, and we have got to do better. We really do. And with that, folks, this is the Comic Book Chronicles. I am your host, signing off, and I bid you adieu. Good night.